How do you calculate your net worth? How do you contribute pre-tax money into a traditional IRA? And I had time today to roast this fancy talking guy's comment about stock picking. Stay tuned to hear it. Welcome back to the Personal Finance Club show. Hey, Jen.
Hey, Jeremy. Long time no see.
Yes, we recorded last week's episode like 5 minutes ago. And during that 5-minute break, I had a very uncomfortable bathroom experience.
What? And it's pod appropriate?
I was going to talk about something else, but now I can't not mention this because it involves etiquette, and I think we all need to. We're still a society here, people.
What happened?
So here's what happened. So I need to set the stage. I work out of a small office building, and every floor has its own bathroom. And in the men's bathroom, it's a very small bathroom. There's one stall, like an American stall, where you can see your feet underneath it, and there's a little crack in the door. Yep. Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. And then there's one urinal. Then there's a single sink. And so, it can serve 2 people at a time as long as they're both not washing their hands. And so I walk in, and there's feet in the stall, and I hear some, noise or whatever. So I'm not alone, but the urinal's empty, and that's all I need to do. So I do my number 2. And then
you do your number what?
Oh, I do my number 1. I forgot which number was which for a second there. I was like, I got no time. I got no time for this. So I turned around, I backed into it, and took no. Sorry, a number 1.
Okay.
Why are they numbers? So confusing. All right, I took a number 1, the Uno, not the deuce. And then as this is getting a little bit graphic, as I'm in the middle, I'm I hear some toilet paper noises. And I was like, what is this guy doing? We can't we can't merge on the freeway at the same time. We're both gonna have to go to use the sink at the same time, right? And if I was in the urinal, I would feel an obligation. Sorry. If I was in the stall and someone came in, I would have a moral and ethical and just societal obligation to just remain absolutely silent until the urinal person had finished and left, right? Just pretend we're not in there together. Because it's so small. It's not a huge one. It's not 15. It's it's a community thing. There's just 2. It's almost like being in someone's home and using the bathroom at the same time. And so I was like, no, this guy's not going to actually let this happen. And so as I'm finishing up, this guy flushes and walks out while I'm finishing. And then the perfect bad timing happens where I just need to stand there and not make eye contact with this man who just number 2'd, obviously, because I heard the noise. And then I just need to wait for my turn to use the sink. I was like, what is this monster doing?
Not monster.
He's a monster. It's what kind of sociopath doesn't have the just common courtesy to just pretend we don't exist and just wait till I'm out of there? I would never. You can't really, this can't happen to you because you use the women's and there's no, I don't know, but maybe if there's 2 stalls, you try to time it, right? I don't know. What do you think?
I just think this person's probably not worried about you. They're I'm done, so I'm going to finish up.
That's psychotic.
There's all kinds
behavior.
of camaraderie that goes on in women's restroom that you can't imagine, that we just have each other's backs in a way that's unimaginable. So it really wouldn't be an issue. And at most you're waiting 60 seconds for somebody to wash their hands. It's fine. It's
just all tickle fights and pillow fights in there, I assume.
It's can I borrow a tampon? Oh my God, somebody broke up with me. It's a magical moment. If you're out in the club and there's girls in the bathroom, wow. There's never been a stronger friendship than a stranger in a club bathroom.
I don't know if you're telling the truth or you're being sarcastic.
I'm so
way,
serious.
I'm fine with it.
Girls,
okay.
weigh in.
Well, this is not a club bathroom. This is a very awkward 2-person office
You seemed like you were very aware of him, and he seemed like he could give 2 shits, no pun intended, about you.
I don't know. He gave exactly 2 shits, and that was more than I needed to know.
Amazing. Well, not expecting that, but
don't be like that guy.
Don't be like that guy. And I guess 5-year-olds can tune in starting now, because that might have been PG-13 at best.
Hey, I have a 4-year-old at home, and that would have been his favorite conversation of any of our podcasts. There's nothing he likes talking about more than pooping.
That's fair. Okay, well, let's get into our first segment. Explain it like I'm 5. This is a topic that you go over in depth in your course and something that I hadn't really explored until I started working with you. How do I calculate my net worth and why is it important?
I love this question because it's so core. It's like core. It's like the little center, the little nucleus of everything in the personal finance world. And it's so not talked about, so often ignored. And I'll give you an example. Sometimes in a post, I'll mention that the median US net worth is $192,000. And without fail, I get comments like, no way the average person's making $192,000 a year.
Right.
And I'm like, whoa there. I didn't say earning, I said net worth. And it's just like this core misunderstanding because we only talk about earning, how much you're making per year. And that's not what it is. And so I'll give you an example. Let's say there's two people who are both 100% broke. They have no checking account, no savings account. They have $0 to the name. Person A, let's call her Annie, makes $500,000 a year. And Annie spends $500,000 a year.
And
Her incomes, yeah, exactly. There's a word for that. It's called broke. At the end of the year, Annie has $0. Her net worth is zero.
Man,
and let's say there's someone whose name starts with a B, Bob. Bob makes $70,000 a year and he spends $60,000 a year. At the end of the year, he has $10,000. So his net worth is $10,000. And so while earning is basically how fast you're going, it's how fast you're making money. Net worth is how far you've gone, how far, like how much money you actually have. And, you know, Annie went forward 500,000 and she went back 500,000. So she's at zero. And Bob went forward 70 and back 60. So he's at 10. So that's the difference. Net worth is how much you actually have. And earning is like how fast you're making money. But you also have to take into account spending. So here's how you calculate your net worth. You open up a spreadsheet, Excel, or Google Sheets, or God forbid numbers if you're a Mac person and you use numbers. That's
never
terrifying. Yeah, okay. God forbid you use numbers. If you use numbers, you go talk to Bathroom Guy and you two can have a little club of just like social outcasts where you're trying to wash hands at the same time and use like
this poor guy.
Absurd spreadsheet programs. I know. I assume he's not one of the 1,000 people who listens to this podcast each week. That's based statistically. Anyway, so on this spreadsheet, at the top, you list everything you own, all of your assets. These are things like your checking account, how much money's in there. So you put checking account, $2,000. You say 401k, $100,000. You say my home. I own a home. The current value as is estimated by your realtor, by the Zillow estimate, or by Redfin, let's say it's $500,000. You add those things up. 2,000 plus 100,000 plus 500,000 equals $602,000. So all of your assets combined are worth $602,000. But wait, we're not done yet because you need to subtract all of your debts. Let's say you have a $10,000 credit card debt. And let's say your home is maybe worth $500,000, but you have a mortgage on it and you still owe $400,000. So you put those debts, negative $10,000 credit card debt, negative $400,000 mortgage. And then you add up all the numbers. So all those, everything you own at the top minus everything you owe at the bottom, that's your net worth. That's what net means. It's all the pluses minus all the minuses. And so if you add up all those numbers I just said, you get to 192,000, which is actually a specific example I came up with because it's the median U.S. net worth, 192,000. And so you can see those numbers, as I said, weren't crazy. You have $100,000 in equity in your home. You have $100,000 401k. You've got $2,000 in your checking account. Those add up are where you get to your 192. So maybe you're making 75 grand a year. You could imagine over a few years, you get into the situation of having a net worth of 192.
Yeah.
And so yes, why is it important? People get obsessed with their credit score. And I hate that because we live in this world where we all try to get grades as kids and we think our teachers will be disappointed with us if we don't have a good score. And so we try to get a better credit score. But your credit score doesn't really have any effect on how financially independent you are. If you want to become financially independent and you want to be rich, you need a higher net worth. And so we should be giving like a little teeny, like a fraction of a percent of effort into our credit score and like a 99.9% of effort into our net worth. We want to pay down debt. We want to save more, invest more assets, less debt. That's how you increase your net worth. And that's what we should be focusing on. If you want to be rich, if you want to be wealthy, if you want to be financially independent, that is what matters.
Wow. You kind of did explain that like I was 5.
Okay. Do you know your
Yeah.
net worth, Jen?
Well, we're not going to talk about it here, but I do know my net worth.
Okay.
Them student loans kicking my ass.
Oh, Jen is more like a normal person who doesn't post her bank account information on social media like I do.
Yeah. Not until I become a millionaire. Then I'll start posting it all the time like you.
Yeah. My net worth was negative at some point. I had $2,000 in my bank account and like $12,000 in credit card debt. So I had like a negative $10,000 net worth at one point. And then over the years, I paid off my credit card debt and I got to a net worth of zero.
Yeah.
I had $2,000 in cash and $2,000 in debt, net worth of zero. And then when I paid off that debt completely, I had a net worth of positive $2,000. And then it grew. I started investing and saving, and my net worth grew to like $100,000. And I sold my company. My net worth became $2.1 million. And then I've been investing for the last 10 years. And now my net worth is more like $6 million. And so that's where you want to be. And it has what's my credit score on? I don't know. It's been fine the whole time.
Yeah, well, I want to be like you when I grow up, so that's the only reason I'm here.
You got 5 years left because I think I'm 5 years older than you.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Okay, I love it. You explained it like we were 5. You did a great job. We're gonna move on to our next segment. Money. Can I ask a dumb one?
Are you gonna ask a dumb person, or is it a dumb question? This is my favorite kind of dumb question because it does seem like a kind of a dumb question, but it's like the smartest dumb question. I love it. So let's hear it.
Okay, I completely understand Roth versus traditional 401ks. Like I've been maxing out my 401k. I'm a little bit confused between traditional IRA and Roth IRA. Roth IRA makes sense, right? Because you're taxed on the principal that you invest or whatever, which makes sense to me because it's like, okay, I get the money in my checking account, then I transfer it to my Schwab account, then I invest it in a Roth IRA. That makes logical sense to me. I don't understand the logistics of how you would invest in a traditional IRA because the traditional IRA is supposed to be you're investing pre-tax money. But like, how am I getting the money to be pre-taxed? Because all the money that hits my Chase account is already taxed. Like, how are you logistically getting it to be pre-tax? Like, does that make sense? I'm so confused because with my 401k, it makes sense because they're pulling it out of my company, like, because it's company related. So I guess like if you do traditional 401k, like I understand how that money could be pre-tax. I don't know. I'm like confused on how that could make sense.
Love that, Kathy. So that question was from Kathy. That's like, I think that's my favorite question so far because it just gets to the core of how this shit is so abstract and you're like pre-tax and post-tax. And she's exactly right. You're like, okay, after your company withholds all the taxes from your paycheck, whatever shows up in your checking account, that's the post-tax money. Then, if you put into your Roth IRA, that's post-tax. Great, makes sense, never taxed again. But then pre-tax, wait, it's already post-tax. So if I make a contribution, like if I transfer money from my checking account post-tax to my traditional IRA, supposed to be pre-tax, how does that work? And I love this question, great question, and I'll give you the answer. And I know the answer, and it's actually pretty simple. And the answer is you settle up at tax time. So the money that your company withholds is just purely a guess. And that money that shows up in your check account, it feels like it's post-tax because that guess is usually pretty good, but it's not. What happens at tax time is you submit the forms to the government. You send them your W-2. How much money was withheld? How much money do you take home? You submit them your tax documents from your investments. You sell them how much money you put into IRAs and Roth IRAs or traditional IRAs, and yada, yada, yada. And then through the formulas provided by the IRS or your tax software or doing the calculations manually on your tax forms, you come up with a number and you say, hey, I have overpaid my taxes by 1,000 or I've underpaid my taxes by 1,000. If I've overpaid, the government sends you a rebate check as a tax refund. If you've underpaid, you have to go pay more money to the government. And so everything up until tax time is purely a guess. The withholding's a guess, everything's a guess. When you actually get your bill, you get your receipt at the end of the year, that's when you settle up. And so if you made that contribution to your traditional IRA at tax time, you're going to submit a form. And let's say you're using TurboTax or some tax software, it's going to say, hey, good news. you put money in your checking account into your traditional IRA, that means you get to lower your tax burden this year. I'm going to send you back a refund check that's going to be $500 more than it would have been otherwise. That's how it becomes pre-tax money, even though it doesn't exactly follow the flow from, payroll to withholding to checking account to traditional IRA. You settle up at tax time and then you get that money back then. That's how it works.
Wow. You're getting really good.
It's a good question. It's the kind of question I love because it also confounds me because you're like, how does this actually work? And I think Kathy kind of like was as exasperated as I am about all this stuff. And so as I'm coughing, as I'm talking. So I love that question. Thanks, Kathy. And
Amazing.
by the way, if you want to submit your own question, this is what I want you to do. I want you to take a selfie with your camera. Make it between 30 and 60 seconds. Kathy was just over 60 seconds, so that's not terrible. But yeah, 30 to 60 seconds. Send it to us at
podcast@personalfinanceclub.com or DM us on Instagram.
Yeah, or DM us on Instagram. And we'll include your audio and your video and say your name and your city, and we'll make it all fun.
Yay, that sounds fun. Okay, cool. Let's move on to our next segment. Scroll Patrol.
Scroll Patrol.
Okay, I've got a video here. Jeremy has not seen it. He's going to react to it in real time. Tell us his thoughts. And here we go.
Give me 60 seconds and I will show you how easy it is to make a budget. We can break a budget down into 3 categories. It's your income, it's your fixed expenses, and it's your variable expenses. Income is very obvious. It's the money that you make throughout the month. So this is money from a job, a side hustle, if you're receiving child support. After we calculated our monthly income after tax, we then need to focus on the fixed expenses. Fixed expenses are expenses that do not change throughout the month. Things like rent, internet, car payment don't typically increase every single month, so that is considered a fixed expense. When you subtract your monthly fixed expenses from your income, that shows you how much money you have left for your variable expenses. Groceries, gas, electricity, that always go up and down. Because those expenses always fluctuate, a great way to get a typical average of what you're spending every month is to track your spending. If you typically spend by using a credit card or a debit card, you could look at your bank statement. The bank statement is going to show you all of your transactions throughout the entire month. That's how you could start to somewhat develop an average of what you typically spend throughout the month. And that's how to easily make a budget. It shows you how much money's coming in and how much money's going out. If you have more money going out than coming in, to see if there's anything in here that we could cut out or do less of to try to save money. You could just Google image budgeting template. There's so many. Pick one that works for you and then get started.
Nice. I like that video. I don't think I know him. Maybe I've interacted with Bradley on a budget online before. I'm not sure. I like that because it's simple and he, it's kind of like the net worth conversation we had, which is it's so core to your personal finance world that but we don't talk about enough. And his little budget template that he's showing is kind of similar, where this is like this really basic. And and myself, I'm kind of going through this right now where I had a bunch of changes in my life recently where I got married, had a child, bought a house, got a mortgage, and all of a sudden, money is going out a lot faster than it's coming in than it used to. And, just having visibility on that is so clarifying. That said, he kind of didn't say, my least favorite critique on like little social media clips, at least when I make them, is people saying, yeah, but, and I'm like, I know, but, I only had 60 seconds. And so this is the point I was making here. And so I think the point he's making there is fine. But I would say what I would like to have mentioned is, he's only really talking about in the month expenses. And I think part of a budget is future expenses and saving. And so if you're trying to spend all your money, then, you're going to be living paycheck to paycheck, right? So if your total expenses match your income there, then you'll have no money at the end of the month. And so part of the line items on the expenses I'd like to see are things like saving. So, okay, maybe your income is $2,500 and all the money you spent is $2,200. I'd like to say, okay, $100 into my emergency fund, $100 into my Roth IRA, $100 into, my wedding fund or something like that. And that's what's called a zero-based budget, where every single dollar has a job, where whether or not it's actually coming out of your accounts this month, it has a purpose, which is to be saved or invested for the future. And, having that zero-based budget where you really know what every single dollar is doing is a really good way to basically have some more clarity and focus, and it relieves stress, because if it's just like chaotic numbers like flying in and out of your checking account and you don't really know what's happening, I think that's kind of a scary place to be when you see like, okay, this is exactly what's going. Here's the plan. I've got some savings. I got some investing. I have transparency into my spending. That's what to do. By the way, shout out to YNAB right now. Full disclosure, I've only ever done one corporate sponsorship, and it's been with YNAB. This is not part of it. This is just an authentic shout out because I've been using them since 2015, and that's what they do. It's a zero-based budgeting app, and it used to stand for you need a budget, and they don't like the word budget for the same reason I don't, because it feels like very restrictive. And so now it's like a personal finance app that just adds transparency to your spendfulness, as they call it these days. But it's an app that basically does all that stuff. You pay for it. I think it's worth it. But not everyone does, of course. So I give it an A minus. It's good advice. Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, I like it because it gets you started. There's obviously a ton of apps that you can use to track your budget, and everybody wants to kind of sell you something or sell you a spreadsheet or even just give you the resources. But I think that just starting being more mindful about how you're spending is part of it and the psychology behind it. So I liked it.
Yeah. And I like that it's like simple. He's like, here is like the green, the red, just Google it, find one.
Yeah. He's like, just Google something. He's not even giving you a spreadsheet.
Totally. And that's how I feel like with net worth. You could have some like super fancy, financial planning app, but I think there's something really powerful about just like starting with a blank sheet and like putting in your numbers. Because like when you touch them yourself and you feel them and you see them and you like look them up and you kind of like, you get a sense of what's going on. If you just go link a bunch of accounts with some fancy app and you're like, okay, I guess that's, it still feels like very abstract, like out of your hands. So I like doing it, eventually you'll probably, graduate to a fancy app, but I like doing it manually with your net worth and with your budget at least once, just so it kind of takes some of the mystery away of like where this money actually is.
For sure. All right. Wow. We're flying through this episode.
Nice. We had a long one last time, so this will be a short one.
We did. Okay. So the last segment of our episode. Money. Jeremy had time today. Okay. On a recent post about stock picking that highlighted NVIDIA. Do you want to explain the post actually before I read the comment?
Yeah. So the post has a little emoji guy, like very confidently saying, I bought NVIDIA in 2015 and I'm up 21,000%, which is actually true about NVIDIA. It's up like a crazy amount since 2015. And that is under the title, What They Say. But then under the title, What They Don't Say is, including all my other stocks, including all my other 67 stocks, I'm down a total of negative 14%. And so the point is basically a lot of people on social media, at barbecues, at family Christmas, whatever, they're going to talk about investing in a, that one time I caught that big fish way. Like, right. I caught a fish that was that big, and it was probably an exaggeration. It probably wasn't that big. And they didn't talk about all the times that like they lost fish. Right. And with investing, when you do a really careful audit of all of your investments, not just the one that you like thought you like did really well on, it's usually much worse than just having bought an index fund. And so the message here, as is always the message, is don't get caught up in this stock picking game. Just buy the index, and the focus shouldn't be on doing more research and picking more clever stocks. The focus should be on spending less, putting more money into your index fund, and letting it ride for longer.
Yes. Okay, so we had a commenter say, it's just nonsense to call investment picking stocks in a casino. Actual investment is not a gamble, but a weighty decision to direct capital on the basis of learned judgments about the value provided by a company's business model to customers and the ability of that business to efficiently market its products to those who benefit from buying them. If you're picking stocks based on technicals or some other nonsense, then yes, definitely stop. If you are choosing to invest in owning portions of companies that you have strongly evaluated on fundamental business proposition, then it's not gambling in the least. Though you have to ride out the volatility from all the people who buy and sell based on spurious forecasts and technical evaluations. That's a little bit of a mouthful.
I wonder how that noise is going to sound on your drive to work. I don't like this comment.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you why. And I usually do like the comments, even the ones that are picking on me. But I think it takes a really smart person to make things simple. And this person is clearly going out of their way to try to sound smart. It's a weighty decision to direct capital. Direct capital? Like, why would you use those words? You know what you mean? Buy stuff. Direct capital. Give me a break. Buy stuff is what you mean. Direct capital. Based on the learned judgments, like, oh my gosh, the business model and efficiently market its products. Like, oh my God. You know, what you're saying here is like, if I read about a company, I will have a better idea if it's a good company and if I should buy stock in that company.
Yeah.
And, you know, trying to use complex language to make yourself sound smarter, to make it sound like you're doing a better job of this is like the exact part of that Dunning-Kruger curve where, you know, you think you're smart and you're actually not that smart. And so I don't like that because I think this type of language, you know, this person, I don't care what they do with their money. I don't care what anyone does with their money except for me. And, you know, I just like, I do this podcast and I have this passion because I like helping people. But this type of comment is like very discouraging to people who are entering investing, new investors. They're like, how could I ever direct capital? I don't even know what capital means or how I could direct it. I'm not a director. And like, you know, capital means money. And direct means do you buy something with it. And so, you know, I don't like that. I don't like the tone primarily.
Did you like how I read it though? Because I'm feeling attacked right now.
Well, you're always the proxy for the audience, right? So sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but you're going to get blamed.
Catching
on this
strays right now. Okay, you don't like the tone in general. Okay,
I do think that you had trouble reading it because there was such like word salad of like, oh, the volatility of the spurious forecast and technical evaluation.
I don't think I've ever said the word spurious before.
I know. Why would you need to? It's nonsense. Okay. And, you know, he's basically making a case for fundamental investing, which is saying, hey, I can look at companies, I can read about them, I can see if they're good or bad. And then if I can buy the good companies, if I do that over time, and he makes a good point, like you don't get caught up in the short-term volatility of day traders and things like that. You just buy them for a long period of time. It's like there's a guy named Benjamin Graham who is Warren Buffett's mentor who basically has made this case. And, you know, this is a very long time ago now, obviously, because Warren Buffett's, I think, like in his late 90s now. And for fundamental investing. And that's like, you know, like there's kind of a point there. But here's the problem. I'm going to make a sports analogy.
Oh, no.
The opening, it's going to be a pretty easy sports analogy, I think. I went to Michigan, big Michigan football fan. Michigan football this year in the opener, they played New Mexico, the Lobos. And Michigan is the winningest program in football history. They won the national championship 2 years ago. They got the number one quarterback recruit in the nation, the number one recruit overall. Huge offensive line, deep running backs, great coaching, blah blah. And like New Mexico has like a young program and like weaker quarterback and weaker coaching, and you can read about both these programs till you're blue in the face, and everyone's going to come to the same conclusion. Michigan is going to stomp New Mexico. And the game happened, and guess what? Michigan stomped New Mexico. And so you might be saying, this commenter might be saying, hey, I'm just going to bet on Michigan because Michigan's going to win. No doubt. But here's the problem. You're not betting if Michigan's going to win. You're betting against the spread because everybody knows Michigan's going to win. And so then the bet doesn't become who's going to win. The bet becomes how much is Michigan going to win by? And guess what? The spread going into that game was 34.5. Michigan was supposed to stomp New Mexico by 34.5 points. Half the bettors thought it was going to be more than that. Half the bettors thought it was going to be less than that. That's how the spread is calculated because everyone deeply understands the rosters, the history, the matchups, all this football stuff, right? Everyone understands that because people who putting their money on the line aren't going to make a dumb bet. They're going to really understand what's on the line here, right? And so what happened? If this person would say, Michigan's a blue blood, Michigan, blah, blah, Michigan didn't win by 34.5 or 35 as they would have needed to win the bet. Michigan won by 17. Still 2.5 scores. They still stomped New Mexico. But if you would have bet on Michigan, you would have lost, right? And so just like that, when you're picking a stock, You're not betting, is this a good or a bad company? We all know NVIDIA is a good company. We all know AI is the future. We all know they have a $100 billion deal with OpenAI. We all know that China is like relying on their chips. We all know all of these things. And so doing this fundamental research doesn't matter because you don't know more than everyone else who's also choosing to buy a stock. And so if you go and buy a share of NVIDIA stock, not only does it have to do all of those things we all know it's going to do, it has to do even better. It doesn't have to win the game. It has to win the game by more than 34.5 points, right?
Right.
And so
right.
it's not gambling in that you might lose money, you might win, you might make money. It's gambling relative to the market. It's gambling relative to, I could just buy an index fund and guarantee the growth of all the companies. And is buying NVIDIA today going to do better than an index fund? The answer that I give you, and the answer this guy maybe won't, this one must be a male. Do we know the gender of this person? A female would never say
I think it's a man, but I can't remember.
There's no way a female wrote these words. I will bet the spread on that is 1,000,000 points. I will take the spread on that, but there's no way a female wrote spurious forecast. And not that a woman couldn't. It's just that she wouldn't.
She wouldn't, yeah.
They're too smart to write nonsense like that. Okay. So not only, you have to, you're not betting against zero, you're betting against the market, right? And so is NVIDIA going to beat the market? The answer is, I have no idea, and neither does this commenter, right? And so it is gambling, that said. So that said, I don't hate picking stocks. Like if you want to buy 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 blue bloods and hold them for a long time like this person does, it's going to do very fine. But don't kid yourself into thinking you're going to outperform the index, because you're not likely to. Experts have tried and tried and tried, and studies have looked at this over and over and over and over and over and over again, and they always find that the experts can't outperform the market because they're betting against the spread. They're betting against everyone else, and when you take into account the fees if you're paying an expert to do it, like in an actively managed mutual fund, or your time and the cost, like the bid-ask spread and the effort into picking stocks, you're not going to beat the market most likely over time. And so if you want to with a little bit of your money, fine, but I disagree with this comment.
Okay, now can I ask a dumb one?
Yeah, I would love for you to ask a dumb one.
Really though. For this last sentence though, I'm going to read it again because it's such a mouthful. Though you have to write out the volatility from all the people who buy and sell based on spurious forecasts and technical evaluations, doesn't that also affect this might be a scale back way of saying what you just said, but doesn't that also affect the market? All the people that are doing what he's doing is affecting the market in a way that makes it easier to not pick stocks and just go with the index fund. Is that true or no?
Totally. Like spurious forecasts means, CNBC or, Goldman Sachs or, whoever is out there predicting what stocks are going to do are making their predictions. And technical evaluations are, he's a value investor. He's a fundamental investor. A technical investor would be someone who's like looking at, red and green charts and 120 averages and just trying to basically pick and choose stocks based on the technicals of the stock, if it's going up or if it's going down, or if it's trending up or whatever.
Right.
And the fundamental investors like him would say, oh, the technical investors are silly or whatever. But the point is, the sum total of all of this is being priced into every share of NVIDIA stock. And so he can say, saying to ignore stuff and write it out is good advice. But still, when you go buy a share of NVIDIA today, all that money is already priced into it. All that information is already priced into it. So you're still getting the same price those guys are.
All right. You definitely had time today.
Yeah, I know. I was kind of more mean to this person than normal, but I just didn't like.
Spurious took you over the edge.
Yeah, very spurious.
It got me.
The weighty decision to direct capital. Okay.
It was too much.
That's how we talk when we're trying to be inclusive and encourage people to get started investing. So yeah, I don't really have a lot of sympathy for that kind of language.
Fair enough.
We can use the effort, but we're not saying spurious and we're not saying capital. I mean, sometimes you have to say capital because there's like capital gains and stuff like that. But we try to just use simple language here because I'm a simple man. Yeah, so maybe I'm a dummy. He thinks I'm a dummy.
The Simple Millionaire, your autobiography.
Yeah, exactly.
That's probably already a book. Okay. Well,
shout out to the Simple Millionaire. Send us
Let's trademark that, and I'm gonna Google it later. Okay, that's all that we have time for today on the Personal Finance Club show. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
And don't forget the 2 rules of Personal Finance Club. Rule number 1, live below your means, and rule number 2, invest early and often.
The Personal Finance Club show is produced by Jeremy Schneider and Jen Mandia. Music by Esabalu and Homie. Send your questions to podcast@personalfinanceclub.com. The Personal Finance Club show is co-hosted by Jeremy Schneider, who is a co-owner of Nectarine, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The views expressed on this show are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Nectarine. Please refer to hellonectarine.com for all relevant disclosures. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be construed as personalized investment advice or a solicitation to buy or sell any security. Listeners should consult their own financial, legal, or tax professionals for advice specific to their situation.